Amongst the greats of the past was a person by the name of Luqman, alayhi salatu wasalam. So he was not a Nabi. He was of African origin. He came from a town called Nuba, which is in today Sudan. And he was owned by a master. He was a slave. And he lived in the time of Nabi Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam. And he gained great wisdom from Nabi Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam. He lived for a very long period of time, and eventually he was set free by his master. In a hadith it is stated that Luqman was offered prophethood or wisdom, and he chose wisdom. And he was asked, why did you choose wisdom and you didn't choose prophethood when you know the position of prophethood is so high? And he said that with regards to prophethood, if I had to choose it, then I would have been obliged to fulfill the responsibility on my own. Whereas if a person is granted prophethood, then Allah assists that person in fulfilling the responsibility. Allah Rabbul Izzah mentions a number of his advices in the Noble Quran, and then in some of the ahadith and some of the other narrations of the Israelis, there is mention of his wisdom. In the Quran, Allah Rabbul Izzah speaks about La tushrik billah wa la tusa'ir khaddaka, that do not associate partners with Allah. Be kind to your parents. Establish your salah. Enjoin the good. Forbid the evil. Do not be boastful. These are some of the advices mentioned in the Noble Quran. So one day, someone came to Luqman and asked him that, how is it that you were a slave? You were a slave who was under the control of your master, and today you sit as a sage of the age and everyone reverts to you. How did that happen? And he said, because of two things. One is always speak truthfully, and the second thing is abstain from that which is futile. And you'll also be granted wisdom. One day his master told him, slaughter an animal and bring for me the two most pure pieces of flesh on the animal. So he slaughtered the animal and he brought the tongue and he brought the heart. The master then told him, okay, now slaughter an animal and bring the two worst pieces of flesh on the animal. And he slaughtered the animal and he brought the tongue and the heart again. And the master asked him, so how can it be the same thing? And he said, if the tongue is pure and the heart is pure, it is the best. And when the tongue becomes corrupt and the heart becomes corrupt, then it is the worst. It drops to the lowest end. So amongst his advices was that a person shouldn't pay too much attention to praise and to criticism, because they will pass. So there was one person who was struggling to understand this. So they narrated to him a story that there was once a father and a son, and they were going on a conveyance. So they were traveling. So they decided that, it's a long journey. Sometimes I'll ride the donkey and you'll lead it, and sometimes you'll lead the donkey and I will ride it. So they decided and they made this arrangement between the father and the young boy. So they set out on the journey. So when they come to the first village, at that point, the boy is on the donkey and the father is leading. So the people of the village see this. The father is leading, the boy is on the donkey. They address the boy and say, how disrespectful of you that your father is leading and you sitting on the donkey. Don't you have any manners? So the boy and the father both feel upset about this. Nevertheless, they change around and they say, okay, you know what? Respect demands that you sit on top and I lead it. So they continue. When they come to the second village, now the boy is leading the donkey and the father is on top of the donkey. The people of the village notice this. They speak to the elderly man, the father, and they say, don't you have any mercy in your heart? You let your young boy lead the donkey and you enjoying yourself on top of the donkey. Don't you have any scruples? So the father and the father and the son are again caught perplexed that, people are criticizing us. What do we do? So they decided, let us both ride the donkey. Then no one can say anything. So they both mount the donkey and they continue and they come to the next village. When they come to the next village, the people of the village say that, look at these two people, how oppressive. One donkey and two of them want to ride the donkey. Don't you have any brains? This is oppression on the animal. So they say, I ride, you ride, we both ride. Nothing seems to please these people. So what we're going to do is, we're just going to lead the donkey and both of us won't ride. So eventually, the two of them are leading the donkey and they come to the fourth village. When they come to the fourth village, the people of the village come out and say, what foolish people. They have a donkey yet they don't ride the donkey. How can you be more foolish and allow this to go wasted? The point was that whatever you do in life, there will be people who will criticize you, and sometimes there will be people who will praise you. If you get too impressed with the people's praise, then you will do things to draw people's praise, which will become a means of insincerity. And if you get too affected by people's criticism, you'll say, no, let's do nothing. Let me just sit. People will find fault, so I won't do nothing. So you need to identify what is your objective, and you listen to the criticism, but you continue with your objective. May Allah grant us the sincerity.